Okay, well, good Monday afternoon, Jet fans. It is 12:57 p.m. It is January 6th, 2020. Little Christmas for all of you who follow. Italian tradition is start of our decorations start coming down today. This is when the three kings made it to the manger in Bethlehem, and they call it Little Christmas, the Epiphany, Feast of the Three Kings, whatever you want to call it. But happy Little Christmas to you if you celebrate. Um, and before we get into Wild Card Weekend and who's celebrating and who's not celebrating, breaking news this morning out of Dallas: Mike McCarthy, former Packer coach, will now be the New York. I'm sorry, will now be the new Dallas Cowboy head coach. Um, I think McCarthy goes into a good situation. He's put into a position where the team wants to win. The team is basically built to be a playoff team. He has a foundation at quarterback and running back. McCarthy, I believe, said won six division titles in 13 seasons at the Packers. He did win a Super Bowl in the 2010-2011 season. He beat the Steelers. That, of course, Jet fans, you'll remember, is a year we lost the AFC Championship game to Pittsburgh. So, I was definitely rooting for McCarthy and the Packers in that game. So, anyway, there are more coaching vacancies. The Giants are going to be interviewing Matt Rule. The Browns need a coach. And also, we now to a week in, this is probably where you'll see assistants start getting interviewed who are in the playoffs, and you'll start to see more and more hirings um, with staff and whatnot as well. But we'll go to Wild Card Weekend, and AFC Wild Card teams played on Saturday. Um, NFC played Sunday, and I have to say, the four games were very good. They were all close. They were all one-score games, all four games. Two out of the four went to overtime. Um, and I don't know if you want to call it two upsets or one upset or no upsets, but let's get into it. Houston hosted Buffalo. I had Deshaun Watson in my fantasy league all year. I really thought he was going to be, dominating. Buffalo proved to me that they could play with the big boys by playing this game. I know Buffalo won 10 games in the regular season, but they never really solidified that stronghold on a playoff spot as far as being a threat. I thought there was a way they could steal this game, but Buffalo comes out and they take a quick lead. First few plays of the game, Josh Allen scrambles for a huge gain. I think it was a 40-something yard gain. And then he catches a 16-yard touchdown pass, the quarterback. So Buffalo was taking all the plays out of their bag, um, and they were getting ready to just open it up. But things kind of settled down. Buffalo took a 16-0 lead. Now remember that score, 16-0 at Buffalo, because it's ironic. Okay, they then start to give up. Field goal here, touchdown there, what have you. Um, Late in the fourth quarter, Buffalo had the chance to put the game away, take a lead, and Josh Allen seemed like the pressure of the game got to him. Now he played in the playoff game in 2017. Um, his coach was the coach then, so I would say that it wasn't that they were not in this situation before, but they lost that game. But it just seemed like the situation got the most of Josh Allen. Uh, there was a point where they're in field goal range and he takes, two sacks. Um, it's fourth and 23 or fourth and 27, and they go for it. I think like on their side of the 50. I don't even know where they were, and they wound up giving the ball up. And then the defense had to come in and basically hold Houston, and Houston tried to kill the clock. And then Buffalo again starts to move the ball, and then this is where I say that Josh Allen, he was overwhelmed. He scrambles out of the pocket. He picks up a nice gain. He has the first down, and I know time is of the essence, but he has plenty of time. He goes to get tackled, and he flips the ball backwards to a tight end, and the tight end couldn't get his hand on it, so he basically knocks it out of bounds. It stops the clock, and it also keeps them with the possession, so nobody else could get it. But there was just these things coming up late. Before he took one of the sacks in the fourth quarter, he throws the ball to avoid the sack inside the pocket to a lineman. There's a flag on that. There's intentional grounding on that. There's illegal touching. I mean, it was just, the game got the best of them. They did get a last-second field goal to tie it to 19, but then Houston came out and scored on a field goal. So Houston advanced 22 to 19. Buffalo gave up a 16-point lead, and I read this on Twitter, and I thought about it also. Week 1, Buffalo was down 16-0 to the Jets, and they came back and won that game 17-16, and that kind of gave them that boost. Um, that little kick in the ass to get going. And here they had a 16-point lead on the road against a great quarterback, and J.J. Watt that came back and who had a sack and was in there most of the game, creating havoc, and they gave it up. So Buffalo, they did surprise me on the year they had. I said it all year long. I thought Buffalo would be where the Jets were, and the Jets would be where Buffalo was playing on Wild Card Weekend, but it changed. And can we have a changing of the guard? Because after that game, and almost as soon as that game ended, because that game went overtime, Tennessee went to New England and basically held the New England Patriots at check. Um, Things that New England would usually do would be successful at didn't work. Now Ryan Tannehill played in a playoff game under Adam Gase, and he looked at ease in the pocket. He made the right choices. I mean, you can't take away from the running back. I can't think of his name, but I mean, the running back I think had 187 yards on the ground, um, and he just ran over the New England defense. Brady was pissed. He was frustrated. You could see it in his face when he went to the sidelines, yelling at receivers running the wrong routes, him overthrowing, him underthrowing, him getting hit. And if you know anything about Brady, when he is hit, when he's under pressure, he is not the same quarterback. And I take nothing away from him. He's a brilliant quarterback. He can make all the throws, but when he starts to get frustrated, he is vulnerable. Um, Edelman dropped a huge pass in the fourth quarter that could have had New England moving downfield to eventually tie this game. Um, it So things that usually helped or worked out for the Patriots didn't fall their way. They were down 7-3. They were then up 10-7. Um, and until late into the game, it was 14-13 Tennessee. Um, and basically, on a beautiful punt by Tennessee, the ball is down on the one. And the stage is set, really. You know, well, let me start this over. I'm going to go back to Monday night game where the Patriots played the Jets. They're up 33 to nothing, and late in the fourth quarter or whatever it is, Belichick is using delay of game penalties and false start penalties to kill the clock. And Adam Gase is declining them. Now, at the time, I didn't know why he was doing this. They're up by 33. I didn't know the rule. On Saturday, it was explained because Mike Vrabel, the head coach and ex linebacker for the Patriots, did the same thing. Basically, before 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter, on a running clock, if the offense goes off sides, I'm sorry, if the offense has any type of delay a game or illegal formation or false start, it's a penalty and the clock continues to run. Um, if they do it more than twice, it's actually not supposed to like penalty and they get 15 yards, but the clock continues to run. What Vrabel did, which was ingenious, was first he did a delay a game, then he did a false start. So there wasn't two of the same penalties back to back. Then he did a delay a game again. Belichick was pissed beyond belief. You could see him screaming, "This was bullshit." But it was basically what he did against the Jets on that Monday night game when he was blowing the Jets out Vrabel did to him and killed about a minute and a half, which was key because very late in the fourth quarter now, the Tennessee punts. They're up 14-13, and if you're a Patriot fan, they're going to go down the field and score. If you're anybody else's fan, they're going to go down the field and score. I mean, that's just what Brady does. And in New England, and the talk of, is this Brady's last game? Is this Belichick's last game? So it's a beautiful punt. It's down on the 1, and you feel all right. He's got to go about 70 yards, maybe 60 yards to get a somewhat into field goal range. 60 yards, put him on. The other 40, you put 17 on top of that, it's a 57-yard kick. So you're looking at 65, 70 yards down the field. Brady steps back into the pocket. He throws a pass. It's tipped, it's picked off, and it's running for a touchdown. And basically that's it. There's 1 second left on the clock after that play. I mean, the chances of him going downfield were very slim, but with the Patriots, it's always there. After he scored, I actually turned to my youngest daughter and I said he shouldn't have scored. He should have just went down on the field and not scored, because then Tennessee would get the ball and just kneel on it, and that's it. They went for 2 to make it a 9-point, or I should say, an 8-point game, and they didn't succeed. So it was 20-13. They kicked off again. Patriots tried to do some razzle-dazzle, tried to pass the ball back and forth, flip it, and it turned out it was recovered by Tennessee. Brady and Belichick walked off the field. I don't know what he said to Vrabel, if he said anything. Belichick. Edelman was throwing his helmet in the tunnel headed to the locker room. There was questions of, does Brady retire? He says it's unlikely. There were questions one question to Belichick, and it was funny because Twitter blew up with, oh my God, Brady is this, Brady is that. I can't believe we lost. And one reporter asked Belichick, how do you like the support of your fan base? They're with you on thick and thin, and even on those lean years. And Belichick said, and this was a great answer by Belichick. I have to hand it to him. Belichick said that he appreciates his fans, but there wasn't many lean years. If you think about it, 9 Super Bowls, 6 championships. How lean was that in 20 years? But anyway, there are reports now that possibly, Brady goes to the Cowboys with McCarthy. Boomer Esiason on FAN says that's a thing. They're also saying on FAN, I think Gio said today, he doesn't think that Robert Kraft wants Brady to be on another team. So either he signs him or he offers Brady trying to retire, but he can't see him on another team. We shall see. This will be a great offseason. Reporting on what Brady's doing and all that, almost like when Tebow was in jet camp. And something I learned today, the year that Tebow was a quarterback for the Broncos and scored that touchdown, okay, this is ironic. Tebow, who was a quarterback for the Broncos, quarterback for the Jets at one point, threw a pass in overtime against Pittsburgh and beat them in the playoffs. Demaryius Thomas was the receiver on that play that scored. He's a jet receiver. Adam Gase was the coach on the offense there. I believe he was the quarterback coach. Following year was Peyton Manning coming in. So anyway, Houston and Tennessee move on. Saturday was all AFC. Sunday, it started off Minnesota, New Orleans. Minnesota wins 26-20 in overtime on a walk-off touchdown. Controversy again for the third straight year with the Saints in the playoffs. This is the third straight year that they walk off the field on the last play of a game in the playoffs. This is the second time against Minnesota. 2 years ago, it was the Minneapolis Miracle when the last pass trying to get to field goal range. They hit, I believe it was Diggs, down the sideline. The Saints missed a tackle, and he scored. last year was against the Rams, the non-call on the pass interference, and this year New Orleans, for the most part, was fighting in this game. Minnesota actually um, was the better of the two teams for a majority of the game. It came down to going into overtime, um, and I give it to Kirk Cousins. I'm not a fan of his. He threw a beautiful pass right through the middle of the field, got his receiver down to the 1 or 2 yard line, and then it's almost like they're playing for the field goal. They run two plays and they wind up losing 2 yards. So on third and goal from the 4, he throws a pass to the far left side corner. The receiver pushed off. I'm not going to say he did not. It was a blatant push off. You could see there was actually an end zone cam where the fans are saying he pushed off. The defender saying he's pushed off. They call it a touchdown. They review the touchdown, make sure it's a catch, and they come down and say there wasn't enough evidence to show a push off. The game ended in overtime. So for 3 straight years, it was a walk-off loss for the Saints. For 2 out of 3 years, it was a walk-off loss to the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings move on 26-20. They will go to San Fran. Later that night, Seattle, Philly, the Battle of the Birds, the Seahawks, and the Eagles. Early in the game, Carson Wentz is hurt um, when he's hit by Clowney. Uh, I don't want to say it was intentional, but you could see the play was iffy. I heard this morning also on FAN. If that was Brady, he probably gets an unsportsmanlike conduct call. So in comes Josh McCown, Uncle Josh, who played 2 years here at the Jets. I have to say, the times I met him, he was a gentleman to myself and my children. He was always great to the fans, always had time for the fans afterwards, taking pictures, posing with people. Um, he's in the league 20 years. He went on the Eagles, first team he's ever been on that went to the playoffs, and now he gets called in early in the game. You could see this Eagle team that's been battling injuries this whole year was not strong enough. Josh was on the run most of the game. He was banged up towards the end. Got to within 17-9 late in the fourth quarter. He had a fourth and goal or fourth and long inside the red zone. He tried to do it himself. He got sacked, and that basically ended the game. Seattle wins 17-9. They will go to Green Bay next week. And he actually broke down in tears on the field. He broke down in tears in the locker room and at the podium. Basically, you can see this is his career probably ended. If you don't remember, he actually retired after he left the Jets last year. I would have loved him to be on the Jets this year because I think he probably could have pulled out 2 or 3 of those games that we had Falk in there, and that quarter that we had what's his name that got hurt. So I thought Josh was a great quarterback, and he went out on a loss, but he went out in the playoffs, and I think that'll be it for him. He was retired, and he got called by the Eagles because of the injuries. He got a chance to play, just he was not good enough. So Tennessee will go to Baltimore. Houston will go to who's Houston going to? Kansas City. So I think the AFC matchup this week, I mean, Houston, Kansas City is going to be great. Tennessee, Baltimore, I mean, you got to look at Baltimore as really being dominant. Um, I don't think Tennessee can handle them like they handled New England. But hey, when you beat New England, you can basically beat, so you can beat anybody. And the Jets thought that when they played the Steelers in 2010, 2011. But anyway, that is my wrap up on the wild card. So now I'm going to go to Jets, JETS news. We're going to do grades. So overall offense, I give them a C. Donald was out. Crowder was hurt at one point. Robbie Anderson played a great year. Bell was not used the way he should be used. Donald had over 3,000 yards in passing, 19 touchdowns, 13 INTs. He averaged 232.6 yards a game, a QB rating of 84.3. Last year, he had 17 touchdowns and 15 interceptions. So he did go up in touchdowns. He did go down in interceptions. He played 13 games both this year and last year. Um, he was sacked 33 times this year. Last year, sacked 30 times. So that just shows you the um, the offensive line woes and whatnot, and the pressure he was under. Defense, I give a B, and that's the highest grade I gave to anybody. The defense played for Greg Williams. Most of the time, Greg Williams had a great game plan. One player played all 16 games, started all 16 games. That was Marcus May. Um, Jamal Adams made the Pro Bowl, and he's first team All Pro. The defense had 12 INTs, 3 of them went for touchdowns, 10 forced fumbles. They recovered, 10 forced fumbles, um, 35 sacks. Jenkins led the team with 6.5 sacks for Jamal Adams. So they had almost half of the amount of defensive sacks. This is a team that was, I like to say, cut and pasted together with all the injuries. I think Greg Williams did a great job with them, and I give them a B. Special teams, I give a C plus, and I'll tell you why. First off, Latch Edwards, I thought was very stable, very consistent. His punting was very good. My kicker, or our kicker. First of all, we went through minicamp, training camp, as I said earlier in my videos. Preseason and early in the season, we were looking for a kicker. We lost week 1 by 1 point, and we missed a field goal and extra point. I think Fickens, for the most part, was average. He was 19 of 28 on field goals. He was 23 of 27 on extra points. So you're talking, I mean, I know this year kickers weren't that great overall, but I think the kicker cost us 1 or 2 games. So I give them a C plus. We need a kicker next year. We cannot go into next year with Fickens. He hits from 48 to beat the Dolphins, and then he misses 2 against the Bills. An extra point in the field goal against the Bills or whatever it was. So we need more consistency. Coaching, I give a C. If you look at, they started off 1-7 and ended up 6-2 and 7-9 overall. You'd say, wow, the coaches really came together. But it was the bad decision making early on and somewhat throughout the season that cost them games. Whether it was the way they used Le'Veon Bell, whether it was the lack of backup quarterbacks. When Trevor Siemian got hurt, you have a guy that never played in the NFL before taking snaps on Monday night, against the Browns. Whether it was, punting when you should have went for it, going for it when you should have punted, play calling, what have you. And I'll also get into the way Adam Gase has handled the locker room. I haven't heard anything from current players, or there hasn't been any reports of current players on how bad it is, or if they like him or not. Sam seems to like him. You notice a wedge between him and Le'Veon Bell, between Gase and Le'Veon Bell. Gase got Maccagnan fired, and nobody said that Maccagnan didn't deserve it. But Gase needs to, as part of his coaching, be more with the pulse of the team and be more aware of the pulse of the fan base. This whole thing with burner accounts and he's effing rich or whatever, that can't be made public, even if he says these things. Greg Williams held up his end of the bargain. Special teams coach, for what we had and what we did, I thought was good. We were very high on punt returns with Berrios. We were good on kick returns. So I give them a C on coaching. Overall, I give the team a C. I expected, like I said, them to be a 9-7, 10-6 team. I thought they would be where the Bills were playing this weekend. And I would have thought maybe they would have beaten Houston in the playoffs. But overall, I give the team a C. There are missing pieces that need to be addressed, and I hope they are addressed quickly because Sam Darnold's going into his 4th year now, or his 3rd season now, and this is the season where he needs to take not 2 steps, but 3 or 4 steps forward. And no one's saying he can't. With the offensive line and the offense he was dealt this year, he shows he could. There are decisions that he makes that you sometimes say, why'd you do that? But there are also decisions where he makes the play, and it's a high-risk play, and he still makes it. So maybe bring those down, maybe even them out a little bit. but I think the future's bright for us with Sam. Check us out, www.nyjetstories.com. That's www.nyjetstories.com. On Facebook, NYJet Stories is our Facebook page. On Twitter, at NYJet Stories is our Twitter handle. And of course, on YouTube, Alex Poziali, NYJet Stories. I'm going to try to do at least 2 videos a week. If there's breaking news with the Jets, I will do more. I don't see anything breaking until probably free agency comes out. I don't see them getting rid of anybody unless Greg Williams is asked to interview for head coaching jobs. So check us out. Again, happy little Christmas, Merry little Christmas, whatever you want to say. Enjoy your week. It's back to business now. The holidays are over. And coming up, divisional round playoffs Saturday and Sunday. And we will have a preview of that on Friday. Like I said, anything earlier than that, I will also do a video. And then Monday, of course, we will do our recap. Send us your comments. Send us your thoughts. Where'd you watch the playoffs? How'd you feel when Brady lost? How'd you feel when Belichick was pissed? How'd you feel when the Bills blew a 16-point lead? And we'll talk to everybody soon. And again, let's just hope for a build on this team to get better.